Keanu Reeves walked through the park, his mind lost in thought, when he noticed something that stopped him in his tracks. A young boy, no older than 10, sitting beside his broken bike, tears streaming down his face. What happened next was nothing short of extraordinary. Without hesitation, Keanu did something that would leave everyone around him in awe, including the boy whose world was about to change forever. But before we dive into this heartwarming tale, tell us where you're watching from. If you love stories of kindness and surprises, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because tomorrow's story is going to be even more thrilling and mysterious. You won't want to miss it. The sun hung low over the city streets as Keanu Reeves, on his usual stroll to clear his mind, passed by a park where a scene caught his attention. A young boy, no older than 10, sat on the ground beside his bike, tears streaking down his face. His bike, once vibrant and full of life, was now twisted and broken, its frame cracked and wheels bent in unnatural directions. The boy was cradling it, as if holding onto a piece of his joy, his childhood, and now feeling lost without it. Keanu's heart sank at the sight. He'd seen the boy's anguish, a pain that many could relate to, a loss that felt so real for a child who had just learned the pure happiness of a bike ride. But as Keanu stood there, something stirred in him. He knew what it felt like to lose something important, something simple but meaningful, and he felt an innate pull to do something that could bring this child hope again. Keanu approached quietly, his footsteps muffled on the park's grassy path. He squatted down beside the boy, not saying anything at first, just waiting for him to notice. The boy, so consumed by his grief, didn't even look up. "Hey there," Keanu finally said, his voice gentle. The boy sniffled, his eyes red and puffy. I don't know how I'm gonna fix it." "It's ruined," he said, his voice breaking, as if the broken bike symbolized more than just a fallen object. It was the loss of something that had brought him so much happiness. Keanu glanced at the bike, then back at the boy. "I think I know someone who can help with that," he said with a smile, a glimmer of warmth in his eyes. The boy looked up, blinking in surprise, still skeptical but curious. Keanu stood up and pulled out his phone, typing something quickly. He then looked at the boy, his expression calm yet reassuring. "How about we get you a new bike? One that's just right for you." "Really?" the boy asked, his voice shaky, not yet daring to believe what he was hearing. Keanu smiled, the kindness in his eyes unmistakable. "I think we can make it happen. A bike that's going to be even better than the one you had before." A few days later, Keanu arrived at the park once more, this time with a surprise that left the boy speechless. Keanu had arranged for a custom-built bike, a masterpiece of design and engineering, a sleek, personalized machine crafted just for him. The bike was worth a staggering $50,000, a thing of beauty that seemed to glow with possibilities. The frame shimmered in the light, a deep, rich color that reflected the boy's favorite hues. The wheels were a work of art, light as air, yet strong enough to carry him on endless adventures. This wasn't just a bike, it was a symbol of hope, a gift that spoke to the heart of the boy's pain, transforming it into something greater. The boy stood frozen as Keanu wheeled the bike up to him, his eyes wide with disbelief. This is for me?" the boy asked, voice trembling, not sure if he was dreaming. Keanu nodded, handing him the handlebars gently. "Yes, it's for you. You've earned it." Tears welled up in the boy's eyes again, but this time they were tears of joy. He couldn't believe it. He had gone from feeling broken and lost, to being given something so extraordinary. He ran his hand over the bike, as though trying to convince himself it was real. "I don't know what to say," he whispered. Keanu chuckled softly. "You don't need to say anything. Just enjoy it." The boy threw his arms around Keanu in a tight, grateful hug. Thank you so much," he exclaimed, the excitement filling the air. He couldn't quite put his emotions into words, but Keanu knew exactly what the boy was feeling. He had just been given a second chance at happiness, at adventure, at something he thought was lost forever. Keanu watched as the boy rode off on the new bike, his laughter echoing through the park, a pure sound of joy and freedom. There was no need for any applause or fanfare. Keanu knew that sometimes the simplest acts, the ones done out of kindness, without expectation, meant the most. As the boy disappeared down the path, Keanu stood still, a quiet smile on his face. The weight of fame and expectations had never mattered to him. It was these moments, these real human connections, that truly made life worth living. In that instant, he was reminded that giving wasn't just about material things. It was about lifting someone else up when they needed it most. That boy would remember this moment forever, but so would Keanu, who, in the act of kindness, found the deepest satisfaction. He made a difference, not by doing something extraordinary, but by showing the power of a small, yet deeply meaningful gesture. And as Keanu turned to leave the park, he felt his own heart lighter than it had been in a long time. Keanu stood there for a moment, watching the boy speed off into the distance, the wind in his hair and the joy in his heart palpable. He could hear the sound of the tires humming against the pavement, the rhythm of freedom that came with a new beginning. It felt like something had shifted inside him, something he couldn't quite put into words, but it filled him with warmth. He never sought recognition for his actions. He wasn't doing this for the applause or for a headline. In fact, he liked the idea of keeping things private, simple, between him and the people whose lives he could touch. And yet, in moments like this, he was reminded that small acts of kindness could ripple out and create a wave of change. The boy's laughter was proof enough of that. Keanu slowly turned and began walking away, his hands slipping into his jacket pockets. He couldn't help but smile to himself, thinking about how, even after all these years in the public eye, it was the quiet moments, the real connections, that made life feel worthwhile. And there was something so pure about that boy's gratitude, a reminder that we all need kindness, and that sometimes it takes a simple gesture to make the world feel a little bit more like home. As he walked down the path, Keanu's phone buzzed in his pocket, breaking the peaceful silence of his thoughts. He pulled it out and saw a message from his assistant, a notification about some upcoming meetings and projects. The business side of his life always demanded attention, but for a moment he paused. He didn't need to rush to meet those demands. He could live in this moment just a little longer, remembering how the world felt when you gave a little piece of yourself to another. When he finally reached the street, he noticed a few people passing by, a couple of fans here and there, but none of them noticed him this time. He liked it that way. There was no need to be seen, no need to be celebrated. What mattered now was the difference he had made for someone, the boy's face still flashing in his mind, full of astonishment and joy. Keanu took a deep breath as he crossed the street, the cool air feeling fresh against his skin. It was the kind of peace that only comes when you know you've done something right, not for the world to see, but for one person whose world had been changed forever. And as the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Keanu couldn't help but feel thankful. For everything. For the chance to be a part of someone's story, even in a small way. Because, in the end, it was the connections that mattered, the kindness we give to others that ripples out into the world, touching hearts in ways we'll never fully understand. For Keanu, that was enough. Keanu stood still for a moment, watching the sunset's colors paint the horizon, the world around him feeling just a little bit warmer. He thought about how the simplest things, like a smile, a kind word, or even a gift, could transform someone's day, their perspective, and sometimes, even their life. It was moments like this that reminded him of the power of human connection, how one person could make a difference without expecting anything in return. As he walked down the street, lost in his thoughts, a woman and her young daughter crossed his path. The little girl, holding her mother's hand, looked up at Keanu with wide eyes. He met her gaze, his smile gentle and sincere. "Are you Keanu Reeves?" she asked shyly, her voice full of wonder. Keanu crouched down to her level, his face softening. "Yes, I am," he replied, his voice warm. The girl's face lit up. "I love your movies! My mom says you're a nice person too." Keanu chuckled, feeling a little embarrassed by the compliment. "Well, thank you. I try my best to be," he said, his smile never wavering. The mother watched the exchange, clearly moved by the sincerity in Keanu's eyes. Thank you for being such a good role model, she said, her voice full of gratitude. You're an inspiration. Keanu stood up, giving them both a small nod. Thank you, he said, touched by her words. It means a lot to hear that. As they walked away, Keanu couldn't help but feel a sense of peace settle over him. The world was full of challenges, struggles, and heartbreak, but in those fleeting moments of kindness, there was so much beauty. The little girl's innocent admiration and the woman's heartfelt words reminded him why he continued to do what he did, not for the fame, the fortune, or the recognition, but for the connection, the ability to share a piece of himself with others, to bring joy where it was needed. Keanu's phone buzzed again, snapping him out of his reverie.